Welcome back. Doing lots of bits and pieces on the bike, but today I want to look at those engine cowlings that I did in a previous episode, get them finalised, get them on the bike. I want to get this thing on the road. So you may remember the engine cowlings that I did in a previous episode, one of the early ones. Out fiberglass, off a cardboard template. It fits on quite nicely and it changes the look dramatically at the front here. A lot less bulky, like a cruiser, and fits on the original fixing points. However, in the months that I've been working on the bike, I've kind of got used to the cylinder heads and the engine being more visible and the narrower look at the back of the bike. So I'm going to finish it at this point after the third fixing. Just remove this bit here so that it continues with that sort of aggressive cafe racer look. Right, I've cut it down so it hasn't got that sort of back end flare on it, and I've trimmed it up so that they're identical as possible. And I don't know if you can see that I've just slightly flared in the hole there because the screw needs to go in at sort of an angle like this, so it just needs to be able to sit flat. And what I'm doing now, two things. Firstly, with little squares, I'm going to be building up this back end here because, again, as I said, it needs to build up so that it can sit, the bolt can tighten it flat against the stud. And secondly, in that earlier episode, when I was being a bit ham-fisted, I cracked the filler. So I've got P38 filler over the top of the fiberglass, and it cracked. So I've just trimmed it back out. I'm just going to put some additional fiberglass slot in there, and then I will fill over the top of that. Cool. Where that crack was, and the filler was quite thick over the top of the fiberglass, it was always going to flex, it was always going to crack. So I've dug it out, laid in 3 layers of fiberglass. That's really strengthened that up now. Hopefully that shouldn't flex and shouldn't crack. Also, I've built up the corners so that I can get a nice flat mount to the stud. So I'm just going to cut those back, trim them up, clean them up, try them out. So there's the first engine cowling fitted. As you can see, I've shortened it from sort of here back to here, and the 4 fixings are on nice and tight, and it's very solid. It's rubber mounted, and it uses some bolts which have some sort of longer shank, so it's tight, but it's not tight onto the fiberglass. So reasonably pleased with that. That's going to go black, probably gloss black with a clear coat over it, and just got to do the other one now. Part of fixing this engine cowling, I had to reroute the accelerator cables because they did come round the front here to take up that extra slack, because obviously I've got clip-ons now, and I've put them back in the original position that Moto Guzzi did, which was on top and running over the top of the levers, because that just takes up a little bit of extra slack. I don't think it looks too terrible. I would prefer them underneath, but it just bunches too much, and I don't want any kinking or any resistance on the throttle. One of the other jobs I've got to do here, before I put this engine cowling on and fit it, is that this bulk of wiring here, which I tidied up when I did the headlamp mounting, has got to be, I've got to just cut these clips off and just feed this back in. There's a little void behind the headstock which all this wiring sort of fits in. So now that I've fitted the front end, I've just got to relocate this before I put the engine cowling back on. Okay, so I've tucked all the wiring within that void where the ECU is. Another thing I'm going to do is, you just saw me cut these wires. These are the wires for the horn, and the horns were mounted here, forward facing, in the much larger engine cowling, which sort of came right out here. I do want them forward facing because unbelievable, someone pulled out on me just last week, only half a mile from my house, in a 30, and just got fed up with waiting and pulled out in front of me. So I do need a nice loud horn, and there's 2. So rather than mounted either side here, what I've done, it's not the best looking place, but they're blackish, and I've just mounted them on the bottom of the alternator cover, so on the existing brackets, and just going to run the cable down the back of the frame, so that hopefully they won't be too visible, but you've got to have them somewhere, and I don't want them sort of up around here somewhere. And right, in order to move the throttle cables, reroute the cables, I had to take off the grip and the throttle off the end of the handlebars, and to do that, to take the mirror off, which is fine, and take off the indicators, which is okay because I left enough cable to remove them. Don't know what happened to that, but the bar end indicators that I had, which are these, which I thought were quite good. They're off eBay, and they are very similar to the Moto Gadget ones, obviously Chinese copies, I guess. And one asks oneself, well, you know, why are they so cheap? Well, the answer is because they're just cheap as chips and almost disposable items. This nut, I think I showed this in the video, does up, and as it does up, it compresses this rubber grommet, which expands and locks into the tube of the handlebar, which is fine. And you just turn the indicator to tighten up that nut so it's secure, not over secure, not tight until you can't get it undone. So when I came to take it off, I came to undo it, and of course it just bloody snapped, and that's because the bolt that tightens against the nut, which is hollow to allow the wiring through, is plastic. So you kind of look at that and you think, well, okay, it's a plastic bolt. Well, we use plastic bolts, hold on number plates and various bits of trim and stuff. But, you know, when you consider that it's hollow as well, and it's more hollow than it needs to be, really, much more hollow. The wiring is very small diameter. And anyway, consequently, because it's just done as cheap as chips, it just snaps. So I thought, well, okay, the LEDs on this aren't brilliant. I think there's only one LED, and it does work, but it's not nearly as good as the directional one that Moto Gadget do. So I thought, well, I'll get some Moto Gadget ones. Bite the bullet. I like the style, the design, but how much are the Moto Gadget ones? Well, they were £85. I thought these were about, I think, £7-8. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll bite the bullet. No, £85 each, plus shipping, and then potentially, of course, if you get them from the States, you've got customs as well. I'm like, 180 odd quid. And yeah, better LEDs, better, and they got Moto Gadget written on them. But 180 quid. I'll just buy another pair for £4.50, and just treat them as disposable items. Crazy. There has to be something in between cheap as chips and a bit nasty and 180 quid. Wow. No wonder people buy cheap crap off of eBay, really. There we are. In between other jobs, while I'm waiting for some filler to harden off, my disposable items have arrived. So I'm going to refit that indicator, reconnect it to the cable. This time I shall provide a little bit more slack, and maybe not do up the actual nut quite as tight by turning it such that it doesn't snap off if I ever need to take off the grip again. Hey ho. So I've been using the dolphin glaze and filling in all the minor imperfections and moving up in terms of the fineness of emery paper. Getting a reasonably good finish. Still not sure that it's going to be the final thing. But we're getting there. So after this, I'll rub it down, just clean out the drill holes that I fitted, and give it a trial fit and get another coat of primer on it. Right, I'm filming this over several days, and today I'm looking at finishing off the engine cowlings. A little bit of rubbing down with finer grit. I fully understand and appreciate now why people use a guide coat. Never really kind of got that before, but then you put your paint on and you think, now it shows up all the little imperfections, so I'll be having a go at that. And after many hours of scrubbing with a gentle nail brush, managed to get this seat up clean. Oh, yeah. So first things first, I should be putting that out of the garage while I do some work, and I shan't be rushing into anything. I should be covering everything up as appropriate. So let's get on with that. These are the engine cowlings that I made, and generally the finish is pretty good. Reasonably pleased with that. The paint finish is pretty good, with the exception of one or two, and I'm not sure whether you can really see that, just slight, I think must be dust particles, and there's one little kind of oh, let's have a look. There's one little pinhole there as well. So I could carry on working on these forever, but what I'm thinking is that I'm going to get these on, I want to get them fixed, get the bike on the road, whilst I'm still contemplating what to do. I might just, when winter comes and I take the bike off the road, finish off those slight imperfections, put a Moto Guzzi emblem probably just here, and and then clear coat them and finish them. If I'm not happy with the finish, I might just try and replicate that in possibly aluminium. But let's get them on today because I want to get this thing on the road, and it shouldn't be too big a job. I've just got some new fixings, rubber, I think they're called Revit fixes or something, I don't know, which allow a little bit of flexibility, but these ones are too long, so I've been waiting for these and they've just come in this morning, so that's good. And a bit of a rubber washer affair on the bottom one here, because as you can see, I've filed in a nice round indentation to allow that bolt to go on there. So we'll see how I get on with them, and yeah, let's get this thing out of the garage. So what I'm intending to put this on with, I've got some Allen bolts with some flanges on them, in effect like an inbuilt washer, and I'm just going to put a rubber washer on the back just so that it doesn't scratch any paintwork, and black on black on black. Hopefully that won't look too tatty. Bit of a push the last few days. Really pleased with the progress. Just a couple of jobs to do in terms of getting a torque wrench and tightening up the front forks and rear caliper, and then it's get it taxed, take it out for a little spin, get some video footage, so watch this space.